They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. And Tottenham's story is this.
I correct myself, I don't usually win things, I always win things in my second year.
It's the history of the Tottenham.
Tottenham get battered everywhere they go! Tottenham get battered!
He's already dead!
No, 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 no.
They were the punchline of English football, 17th in the Premier League, drowning in memes and buried under the curse of Spursy. But while the world laughed, Tottenham Hotspur were quietly rewriting the script. No miracle goals, no penalty luck, just pure resilience, tactical evolution, and unshakable belief. In a season headed for disaster, they turned to Europe and created a legacy. One deflected strike, one clean sheet, and one glorious night in Bilbao ended a 17-year wait. This wasn't just a trophy, it was perhaps a rebirth of the Lily Whites. Stay tuned, because at the end, we'll reveal the defining turning points that changed it all for Tottenham this season. The 2024-25 season, it really has been a bumpy ride for the Spurs. The term Spursy was once a joke, but it's now become a stigma hung over them like a curse. For years, fans watched moments of promise unravel into late collapses, ill-timed red cards, or defensive errors. At the moment, they're 17th in the Premier League table, and when you think about the Spurs getting relegated from the EPL, even the most loyal fans question their life choices. However, they were altogether a different team in Europe during this season. Ange Postecoglou, often criticised for sticking to his front-foot attacking philosophy, put all his focus on filling the gaps where they lack. His relentless pressing system, once vulnerable under pressure, became more situational and precise in the Europa League. Tottenham weren't just playing attractive football, they were also learning how to win ugly. One important factor in this arc is Cristin Romero's leadership. In the absence of first captain, Heung-min Son due to injury, Romero brought the South American fire and passion into the team. He repeated the mantra of no excuses, just results everywhere in post-match interviews. So, that voice carried weight in the dressing room, especially for young players like Pape Matar or Destiny Udogie, who is a beast left-back and owes the transfer market to reassess his value. Slowly, the squad began to shed that fragile skin. They won away in the hostile environment of Deutsche Bank Park against Frankfurt and beat AZ Alkmaar with 3 goals after being down 1-0 in the first leg of the round of 16. These were the wins where they often bottled the season. The players started believing they could endure. They weren't immune to stumbles yet, but the difference was evident in their response. By the time they reached the semi-finals, the word Spursy had disappeared from the headlines because of the dominating 5-1 victory against FK Bodo Glimt in 2 legs. Now the phrases like mentally strong, ruthless and resilient were taking Spursy's place. They became title contenders, perhaps for the first time in a decade. Each step toward the final felt like a public exorcism of past failures. The philosophy of Ange Postecoglou, that we want to play entertaining football for players and the fans, started to be evident. But it has to be said, Tottenham's route to the final was anything but a smooth ride. Their knockout campaign in the competition was marked by narrow margins, tactical adaptations, and growing mental resilience. In the round of 16, they faced AZ Alkmaar, a fast, technically sharp side that shocked the Spurs in the first leg with a 1-0 victory. However, when they came back for the return leg away from home, Spurs controlled the game with 60% possession and a 3-1 victory, courtesy of a brace from Odegaard and a goal from James Maddison at the start of the second half. Next came Eintracht Frankfurt, the 2022 Europa League champions and always an extremely tough opponent in the competition. The first leg in London was a tactical stalemate where Spurs controlled the game, but the 1-1 draw could not differentiate a winning side. However, when the Lily Whites travelled to Deutsche Bank Park for the return leg, it was a display of grit, perseverance and ambition, despite having only 39% possession. They defended well after a penalty scored by Dominic Solanke in the 43rd minute. Frankfurt attempted 14 shots with 5 on target, but Vicario denied them every time and came out victorious in a stadium that is very difficult for opponent teams. The semi-final pitted Tottenham against Norwegian underdogs Bodo Glimt, who had stunned bigger clubs earlier in the competition. They dominated the Spurs as well with the ball in London. but the Lily Whites were clinical with their chances, and Brennan Johnson gave them the lead in the very first minute of the game. In the 34th minute, James Maddison doubled the lead, and they buried the game in the 61st minute with a penalty from Solanke. Ulrik Saltnes scored for Bodo to save some fight on aggregate. However, the Spurs didn't give them any chance under the icy winds of Norway. 2 goals from Solanke and Porro sealed the win, and a bulldozing performance. These knockout matches hardened the squad. Players like Vicario, Sarr and Van de Ven matured under pressure. They weren't cruising, they suffered each round without the ball. They had to defend well against each team, and this prepared Cristin Romero and his troops for the final match in Dublin against Manchester United. Let's take a quick look at Brennan Johnson's decisive moment. The 2025 Europa League final took place at the Bilbao Stadium in Spain, a dramatic venue for the love of football that the Spanish people have. It also became the venue for the Lily Whites to end a 17-year trophy drought. Their Premier League rivals, Manchester United, were all set to disrupt a fairy tale ending. Amorim played a team boasting famous names, and he stacked an attacking lineup. The game was balanced for the 40 minutes. United had more of the ball, while Tottenham looked for transitions, relying on Solanke, Johnson, and Richarlison to break the lines. Then came the moment that would define the match and the season. In the 42nd minute, Pape Matar Sarr picked up the ball in a pocket of space and looped across into the United box. Brennan Johnson, darting in from the left, timed his run perfectly. He met the ball with a lunging strike, but as he made contact, Luke Shaw collided with the incoming attacking threat. The ball clipped Shaw and deflected past Onana into the net. That goal changed everything. After breaking the shackles, Tottenham suddenly had something to protect. They dropped deeper in the second half, but not passively. Johnson continued to press like a man possessed. He gave a relentless work rate, and passions like that separate a winning and losing team. His pace on the break stretched United's backline and prevented them from implementing the game plan freely. Brennan's strike for the goal wasn't a screamer, and it wasn't beautiful either. However, it was earned through smart movement, persistence, and a bit of chaos. In his post-match interview, Johnson didn't care who got the credit. It's in the net. That's all that matters, he smiled, holding the trophy with red eyes and shaking hands. It's the kind of game that rewrites the narratives. Tottenham didn't dominate the game at all. They only had 26% possession of the ball. But as we say, the beauty of football is that you can win more than one way. So, the Spurs won it by defending with guts, courage, and fearlessness. The real key to all this? It might be Cristin Romero's commanding leadership. Cristin Romero played a defining role in Tottenham Hotspur's Europa League triumph, culminating in a defensive masterclass performance in the final against the Red Devils. As the captain for most of the tournament, Romero brought steel, structure, and leadership to a backline that often found itself under immense pressure during the knockout stages. In the final, he was awarded UEFA's official player of the match. Romero's defensive numbers in the final underscore his dominance. He completed 92% pass accuracy and won 6 duels. He was successful in all his aerial duels and won 1 tackle as well. Romero is a fighter who's never lost a final, and with a 9 rating on SofaScore in another final, you can see why this hasn't happened yet. His reading of the game was particularly vital in containing Rasmus Højlund, whose physicality and movement posed a significant threat. Rather than stepping out aggressively, Romero held his line intelligently to maintain Tottenham's compact shape. UEFA's technical observer panel, they praised Romero for his positional awareness and leadership, citing how he marshaled the back line when United began piling on pressure in the second half. His communication with Mickey van de Ven and fullbacks Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie was evident. He often organized the line brilliantly during transitions and set pieces with constant gestures and vocal direction. This passion was a highlight in his post-match interviews when he reflected on the club's 17-year wait for a major trophy. A lot was said about this team and coach, but today we've shut a lot of mouths. But also on the last line, we should really talk about the heroics of Van de Ven and Vicario. Tottenham's 1-0 victory over Manchester United in the Europa League final was secured not just by Brennan Johnson's deceptive goal, but in reality, it was done by critical defensive interventions by the centre-backs and goalkeeper, Guillermo Vicario. Van de Ven, who started at centre-back alongside Cristin Romero, delivered an exceptional display of composure and timing. Known for his recovery pace, the Dutch international constantly snuffed out Manchester United's attempt to exploit the left side. According to UEFA match statistics, he registered 4 clearances, 2 interceptions, and was not dribbled past during the match. His standout moment came in the second half when United almost equalized the goal after the rebound from Vicario. The header was going inside, and Vicario was helpless in front of the goal. The dream shatter in front of his eyes until he sees Van de Ven coming with all his energy and closing down with an amazing acrobatic goal line clearance. Every Spurs fan who was holding their breath jumped almost a foot from their seats. Behind him, Guillermo Vicario was equally crucial. The Italian goalkeeper made 5 saves in the final, including 2 from close range. That Garnacho save while diving toward the far post was world class, and his command in the box during set pieces was just as valuable. Vicario's attempts for the high balls under pressure to prevent second ball opportunities for United's late push were gold as a goalkeeper. Throughout the Europa League campaign, Vicario's consistency stood out. He ended the tournament with the highest 83.3% saves among goalkeepers who played more than 5 matches. His calm distribution helped Spurs maintain structure against the pressure of opponents, with 80% pass accuracy in long and short balls. Both these players were instrumental in Tottenham's clean sheet in the final of the Europa League 2024-25, which can arguably be their most impressive European campaign. And yes, we knew that they played the Champions League final in 2019. However, their discipline, anticipation, and execution in the crucial moments of this campaign preserved the narrow leads and secured the club's first trophy since 2008. Who are some of the unsung heroes and the defining turning points in the game? In football, every title-winning run is defined by some marquee performances and some critical contributions from players who work tirelessly outside the spotlight. Across tightly contested knockout rounds, it was these unsung figures who helped push the Lily Whites over the line. Pape Matar was one of the standout performances in the midfield. He featured in every knockout match except the first leg of the semi-final and provided the crucial assist in the final, with the low cross that led to Luke Shaw's own goal. Over the campaign, Sarr averaged a healthy tackle rate per match to maintain a balance between defense and build-up. His energy and positioning helped to neutralize creative threats in key knockout games. Another star who showed up under pressure was Solanke, who became a knockout stage machine for Ange Postecoglou. He scored 5 goals in the tournament and delivered 4 assists, which makes him one of the most productive Spurs attackers in Europe. His performance in the semi-final second leg against Bodo Glimt was a turning point. With the tie still open and Bodo Glimt dominating possession at their home, Solanke's composed finish opened the score for Spurs and helped secure a 2-0 win and 5-1 aggregate victory. Beyond the stats, he led the team's pressing from the front while disrupting build-up and forcing errors. On the opposite end of the pitch, Pedro Porro was also equally essential, often overshadowed by flashier names. Porro quietly logged more minutes than any other Spurs player in the competition. With 1,098 minutes in 13 appearances, he combined defensive discipline with attacking precision. He scored 2 monumental goals and assisted 3 more. Pedro's overlapping runs and sharp deliveries were vital for Tottenham's ability to break down compact defenses throughout the competition. The momentum that these players gave Tottenham was crucial for building depth and adaptability in the squad. Every round tested a different part of the bench and the starting 11, time after time. At the end, we must say, the supporting cast didn't disappoint when it mattered the most. They were all up for the challenge. So, from memes to miracles, Tottenham's Europa League run silenced doubters and rewrote their legacy. No more bottling, no more waiting, just a team that finally delivered with utmost grit. Now, the next time someone says it's only Spurs, you might want to check the trophy cabinet first.